Pecha Kucha 286, Ricky Rouse Has a Gun, Not Too Smart or Too Fun. So Ricky Rouse Has a Gun is a book I own, independent title I purchased a few years ago. I reread it in the vein of what I've been doing recently, rereading books and discovering they're either as good as I thought they were or being disappointed with how they were. How I feel about them now. I also have a copy of 1984 by George Orwell. I wanted to reread it. I've been meaning to forever. I got to the first page, ended up reading something in the back of the book, and then I'm going to just get through this piece by piece as time goes on. I don't want to talk about all the things in the book that terrify me about how this shit's happening in real life, because the book is a dystopian future where free will is eliminated. The appendix I read talks about how if you change language, you can stop people even knowing the words to explain how they are enslaved. You know, if you turn the Declaration of Independence into just a word called crime speak, people don't know how to revolt. My YouTube settings actually allow me to control discourse in the comment section. I can turn comments off. I can block certain words so that nothing is publicly published. I don't have a successful YouTube channel, and I have the power to censor free speech. This is a slippery slope, but, you know, let's not go too political. Let's just talk about a comic book that should have been awesome and fun and dumb and is just dumb. Ricky Rouse Has a Gun. I bought it off of Amazon. I believe I saw the front cover, which I still think is fabulous, and it speaks to such great things that could be inside. And this page on the right, where, you know, you've got the guy in the costume looking real spooky, and then, you know, some guy hanging in an archway underneath. And I thought, wow, all I need is for the rest of the book to be about this guy shooting up other dudes in Donald Duck costumes and we're golden. Unfortunately, that's not really what the book is. The foreword is pretentious. It is. I feel like this was an attempt to aggrandize the Chinese to sell this book to the Chinese. It talks about it being okay for China to basically rip off anything and everything, because that's actually a Chinese cultural norm and it should be celebrated. And then it gets kind of smug and self-satisfied about some other things too. And then the book starts, but it's framed the book in this idea that it's high art, which it is clearly just the plot of Die Hard, but people wear animal costumes. The main character is a soldier in Afghanistan. He's fighting some fights, so we know he's a badass. Then he pulls out a note from his wife who just says, "Fuck you, I'm leaving." So the main character basically deserts and ends up in China, having, I guess, walked there from Afghanistan, because that's the thing normal people do. So great characterization there. We know he's a quitter. He ends up in China working in a phone factory. He's incompetent, so he gets fired. He starts a fight with the security. He kind of wins it at first, but loses it in the end. Attacks a theme park mascot who offers him an advertisement for work. The main character ends up getting work because the guy who runs a theme park is a massive Americaphile, I guess you would say. He loves American culture. The main character's name is Richard Rouse. The theme park guy had a mascot, needed a name. Richard Rouse obviously should play the role of Ricky Rouse. The manager has a niece who hates the main character's guts until she decides she wants to fuck him because, plot reasons. This is a book full of characters who hate each other, work together, and pretend they're friends at the end, because that's the way that action movies are in the 90s, I guess. I remember them being good. The head of security has an incredibly antagonistic relationship with the main character, and when a bunch of terrorists in mascot costumes take a bunch of people hostage, there's no actual reason why this head of security shouldn't shoot this guy in the face, but he doesn't because he's the main character, so plot armor. The main character also has no interest in helping until he finds out his MacGuffin daughter and ex-wife are in China to visit him. So he turns around, beats up the Chinese SWAT team that's going to save the day, and then goes in to fight the terrorists by himself, who promptly shoot him in the back, but he doesn't die because that plot armor is Batman grade. But somehow this isn't cool. There are a bunch of people in mascot costumes shooting each other, but the art's not... The compositions aren't strong. The colouring has clearly been done by the penciler, who is overworked and probably underskilled. And then there's a plot twist where it turns out the main bad guy is a former Secretary of Defense for the American government, and he's got a tactical nuke strapped to his gut, and because he's racist and he hates the Chinese or something. I don't know. It's not so good, right? But it's not actually that bad. It is a 7 out of 10 book, and I should have really prefaced by saying that I'm just ragging on this book because it should have been cooler. It should have been. I also did do some more work on my Bison detail Iron Man thing I was doing. I was just adding a load of background detail because that was the point. Add a load of detail. And then I've kind of added a little bit of colouring flats. I'm going to end up colouring this picture better when I finish colouring it than the entirety of the book I've just spent the last 6 minutes talking about. Because the penciler was the inker, was the colourer, and was quite possibly the guy doing the speech bubbles as well. That's too much work for a guy who probably never even met the guy who wrote the plot. It feels like a freelance job. I did actually spend most of my week working on my book, trying to thumbnail plot out the plot synopsis, trying to solidify ideas. I'm at the point now where I'm trying to have the main character explain why he does what he does, what his ambitions are, what the point of the plot is. Tough stuff. And I've also, on Saturday, been doing my Smiley Show comic, just doing a bit more of making it better than it was. I've run out of pages. It was only 7 pages long, so I've kind of done all of the speech, tightened up a lot of the artwork. Now I have to refine it until I've actually tricked myself into doing a 7-page comic, on the side from all the other things that I'm trying to do that are kicking my ass because they're actually above my pay grade, so to speak. So in a nutshell, Ricky Rouse Has a Gun should have been a visual spectacle that would have easily overcome a lazy plot, but the artwork is competent, the colouring is mediocre, the script is lazy, and the characters are uninteresting. There's not a lot of reason to want to see the thing through, and then it kind of ends with a bizarre... You can't have a plot twist when no one is following what's happening because they're just shrugging their way through the whole thing. But that's enough ragging on a book that's not actually that bad. I will make sure to throw my book under the bus. Maybe I'll do a direct comparison to the two when I'm finished by the end of the year. That's the end of Pecha Kucha 286, and I will see you next time.